Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal why former British and American intelligence operatives are now sounding the alarm about Israel's deceitful and dirty tricks. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Israeli media outlets have declared Hamas the ultimate winner of the war, saying Israel now faces diplomatic isolation, global hatred, and economic ruin, while having failed to achieve its goal of expelling Palestinians to other countries. While all of this is true, the fact remains that more than 300,000 Palestinians are dead, missing, or injured, with Gaza completely destroyed and unlivable for decades. But ascribing victory to Hamas helps get the world off Israel's back, because it will now claim that not only did it suffer a heavy defeat on October 7th, 2023, but also that it failed to defeat its enemy 2 years later. Therefore, perpetuating the bogus notion of perpetual Israeli and Jewish victimhood. Israel has never abided by a ceasefire, ever. For Israel, a ceasefire means a tactical pause, an opportunity to regroup, plan and mobilize forces for the next effort to expel Palestinians from Palestine permanently. More importantly, Israel is increasingly desperate now that it feels cornered and having failed to convince the world that Hamas was in every single one of these homes, every school, every mosque, and every building on every street, and as far as the eye can see. The United Nations has called this a genocide, and now a clear majority of Americans hate Israel and express a desire to end all financial and military assistance to the Zionist state, all of which has left Zionist leaders in a state of dread and panic, which is why Israel is in a propaganda overdrive, having launched a $1 billion propaganda campaign to restore its shattered reputation in America and Europe. It aims to use the media to incite hatred and fear of Arabs and Muslims. It will convince Christians in the West that Israel stands on the front line of a new holy war against Islam, and then will double down on this manufactured hysteria by carrying out false flag terror attacks in the West.
We are fighting the battle of the free world. We are fighting the battle to prevent the barbarians from storming into Europe, first from conquering all the Middle East, storming into Europe, and then attacking the United States. Now, whether or not people see it, it's true. And I'm very proud of our soldiers who, in defending ourselves so courageously, are also defending all of free civilization.
Our enemies hate all of us with equal venom. They want to drag the modern world back to the past, to a dark age of violence, fanaticism, and terror.
On the 24th of September, we forewarned Israel was making preparations for a false flag terror attack in the United Kingdom or the United States, a prediction based on the fact that Zionists suddenly began hyperventilating about the imminent likelihood of another 9/11, the day after a half-dozen Western countries officially recognized Palestinian statehood. Now guess what happened just 12 days after we aired this warning on this episode?
A deadly attack on a synagogue in Manchester, on the holiest day in the Jewish calendar.
Manchester police are saying they are at the scene of a reported stabbing.
Someone in the crowd shouted, "He's got something on him." And as I turned round, he was literally stabbing at the synagogue window door, trying to get in.
Police shot dead the attacker, 35-year-old Jahed al-Shami.
Our prediction was also based on Israel's history of staging false flag terrorist attacks to turn Americans and Europeans against Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslims, which is exactly what Zionist-friendly media outlets attempted to do in the wake of the Manchester synagogue attack, with front-page headlines screaming blame and responsibility upon Islam. Right on cue, the British media was quick to conflate a criminal act with an entire religion, with this headline telling you everything you need to know in suggesting Palestinians and pro-Palestine supporters are to blame for the attack against British Jews in Manchester. But even more alarming is that not one major media outlet raised a single eyebrow about the convenient timing of the attack, and I mean convenient for the state of Israel. And nor did the media question any of the many questionable, dubious, or suspicious circumstances. I mean, it's not like Israel doesn't have a proven history of carrying out terrorist attacks against Jews and Israelis in the United Kingdom and other countries, as acknowledged by former British intelligence operative Annie Machon.
But the two cases that really got us, first of all, there was a false flag attack in London in 1994, where a car bomb exploded outside the Israeli embassy in the centre of London.
Now, I remember this vaguely. This is, we're talking 14 years ago.
It's a long time ago.
But it was huge at the time. I mean, it was a huge worldwide story.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, there'd been an earlier attack against some Jewish interest section in Buenos Aires earlier that year as well. Similar sort of MO, modus operandi, with a car bomb driven and parked outside that exploded. Very minor injuries, that was all. Nobody was killed. And it was a very sophisticated device. It appeared to eat itself, eat all the forensics. Now, this is very, very rare. Even the IRA, which is a very sophisticated terrorist organisation, could not make bombs that effective. So it looked like sort of fairly technical person had put that together. But what emerged from that, the senior MI5 officer who was in charge of the investigation into it and had seen all the evidence, but also all the intelligence, which isn't necessarily admissible in court, wrote his formal assessment at the end of the case. And he said he reckoned that Mossad, the Israeli external intelligence agency, had bombed their own embassy. A sort of controlled explosion outside the embassy. And as I said, that was a senior MI5 officer. That was his formal verdict. If you read that on the internet now, you would say that sounds like some mad conspiracy theory. But it wasn't. This was the official position of MI5. And he said that they did it for two reasons. One, they were always hassling MI5 for increased security around their embassy and other interests in London. Because, of course, London had a reputation of giving safe haven to Arab dissidents from around the world at that point. And MI5 kept saying, well, there's no reason to increase the threat assessment. You don't need extra protection. So letting off a controlled explosion outside, of course, they immediately got what they wanted there. But crucially, two innocent Palestinians were arrested, charged and convicted of conspiracy to cause that attack. And they were very active in a Palestinian support network in London, political campaigning for the people on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And they were gaining some traction in the media. They were getting quite a lot of support. So by arresting these people and framing them for an attack and sticking them in prison, the whole network just shattered and hasn't got back on its feet to this day. So that would be a clear political advantage.
You can't unsee and you can't unhear what she just said. That Israel attacked and murdered its own citizens and diplomats in a foreign country to incite hatred against Palestinians and Arabs. Now watch how the Israeli Prime Minister at the time deceitfully framed the bombing of an Israeli embassy in London.
Mr. Minister, Paul Sisko from WTN. Do you have just one comment at all on this London bombing? I haven't got many details, but...
Well, it looks like that the Hamas and Hezbollah again decided to renew terror abroad, and we should have to take the most severe measures to put an end to it.
Do you have any...
For decades, Zionists have deployed every propaganda tool imaginable to convince Americans and Europeans that Israel is a liberal democratic state, surrounded by a sea of Islamic radicals in the Middle East. And to be perfectly blunt, their effort to tie Islam, and therefore Palestinians, to terrorism has been a highly effective propaganda campaign, particularly in the wake of 9/11, which saw Islamophobia reach pandemic levels in Western countries, resulting in rising hate crimes and discrimination against Muslims, along with dozens of major right-wing terror attacks against mosques and Islamic centers.
You hurt my father, but you never took him away from me. What I mean by this is that you physically hurt him, but you gifted my father with becoming a martyr, and he has now returned to Allah, God. You shot at defenseless people that were not aware of what was going on until they knew it was too late. Your actions were a gutless character of a person.
This photo, taken nearly 4 decades ago, shows Palestinian Christians protesting against the Zionist occupation of Bethlehem, therefore making a mockery of Zionists like Netanyahu, who falsely claim Palestinian resistance is rooted in Islam and not anchored in their lawful right for liberation and self-determination. It's time for Americans to wake up and listen to former CIA operatives like Dr. Michael Sherher, who was the chief of the agency's team that hunted down Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Israel is utterly worthless in terms of United States interests. It produces nothing we need. It gives us nothing we need. It does nothing but involve us in a religious war it wants to have with Islam. And at the same time, here in the United States, It corrupts our political system through its U.S. citizen supporters. It controls our media to a great extent, and it is an albatross on the United States.
According to leaked Department of Justice filings, Israel is spending millions of dollars to dupe American Christians into believing Israel is locked in a religious war against Islam, and that Christians have a biblical duty to defend the Jewish state, even though the state of Israel was created a full 6,000 years after the Bible was written. So it's important that we remind the American public how Zionist Jews treat Christians in occupied Jerusalem.
Surprising report from Israel today, where officials are taking seriously a recent upsurge in spitting and hitting attacks on clergy and the vandalism of Christian sites.
Israel's total sense of impunity has now reached a level in which its leaders boastfully claim that international law does not apply to Jews because they are God's chosen people. In the mind of a Zionist, only Israeli lives matter because Zionism is Jewish Nazism.
I just think we need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it. And if not that, because the country will not let that happen, the government. Just the least we can do is just kick them out of our land, because this is our home, this is our land, and we deserve it.
To hide its criminality and barbarism, Israel is pressuring social media platforms into censoring and silencing accounts that disrupt its bogus narratives, which is why our channel is among more than 25,000 pro-Palestine accounts to be deleted or demonetized by YouTube and Google, which means we no longer receive a single penny of revenue for our content. Therefore, our survival is solely dependent upon those who kindly and generously support our team via membership on Patreon. For this reason, we kindly ask that you please join them in supporting our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member at patreon.com/CJWerleman. We can't produce, sustain and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.